Hello and welcome to ZNN. I'm your host, Bob Goodman. Today's big idea will focus on techniques used by a speaker to persuade their audience by appealing to their emotions rather than logic. I feel like that makes sense. By using a technique known as a rhetorical device, a speaker uses language designed to encourage emotional response from their audience, causing an argument to become more compelling than it otherwise would be. I should use that next time I call to lower my bill. To help explain the big idea, our expert educator will now explain how imagery, word choice, and repetition may be used by a speaker to strengthen their position. Hey class, I'm going to explain to you how the use of rhetorical devices can actually be used to persuade people to your point of view using emotion and not logic.
All right, hey class, going over some rhetorical devices you can use to convince your audience of your point of view. Now, the first rhetorical device we'll be going over is imagery, which is a technique of using sensory details to create written or spoken images that appeal to audience emotions. Now, you can tell somebody how terrible something is, and maybe they'll take your word for it, or you could describe it, paint a picture in their mind that is so repulsive that your point has gotten across. All right, so here you have an example of imagery. This is actually written by Upton St. Clair in a book called The Jungle, which was an expose on the meatpacking industry. He could have told you how terrible the conditions were, but he decided to paint a picture and really show you how disgusting it was. So that idea of being disgusted, that's a feeling, all right? And that feeling is going to convince the readers, the audience, of his argument, which was, this is a disgusting thing that needed to be addressed. All right, so going on, the hands of these workers in the factories would be crisscrossed with cuts until you could no longer pretend to count them or to trace them. They would have no nails. They had worn them off, pulling hides. Their knuckles were swollen, so their fingers spread out like a fan. All right, so right now we're going to highlight the examples of imagery from where we read. So where do they paint a picture? How about crisscrossed with cuts? All right, crisscrossed with cuts. That sounds pretty gross. No nails. No nails. Worn off. Pulling hides. That's pretty gross. Swollen knuckles. And their fingers spread out like a fan, meaning their hands are pretty damaged. All right, so like I said, Upton St. Clair could have chosen to tell you how terrible these conditions were, and hopefully that you'd be convinced to do something about it, or he really painted a picture. And the picture is worth 1,000 words. In this case, the words are painting the picture, but I think you get the idea. All right, the next rhetorical device in your arsenal when you're trying to convince somebody or you're trying to persuade somebody, you're in an argumentative position. Word choice. This is a technique of using very specific words to convey an author's point of view by appealing to the audience sense of trust. Very often, you see this in toothpaste commercials. 4 out of 5 dentists recommend this toothpaste. Well, that's better than my butcher recommending it, right? The professional or the expert in this case was the dentist. Well, here's another example. Our expertise in roofing contracting is evidenced not only by our 100 years in the business and our staff of qualified technicians, but in the decades of satisfied customers who come to expect nothing but the best. Well, I'm convinced. Well, so let's see the word choices that were made here that help you gain trust. Expertise, 100 years. qualified technicians, qualified, satisfied. All right, and the last, the best. So if you just look at these words and see if they'll help you gain trust in this company. Expertise for 100 years, qualified, satisfied, the best. Sounds good to me. Where do I sign? The third rhetorical device that we will be going over is repetition. Now, the technique of repeating words, phrases, or images in order to emphasize a point. All right, so here we go is another example. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. It's my favorite historical figure, Winston Churchill. And he was talking about storming the beaches for D-Day. Very inspirational man. And he was a very great orator or speaker. And he had to convince the world to really do an unpopular thing or something people were afraid to do, which was really join this war in World War II. So what was being repeated? We shall fight. We shall fight.
She's in the bathroom.
We shall fight. Think you get the idea?
Sure can.
I'm pretty sure he wants us to do what? Fight. All right, folks, that is it for rhetorical devices. I hope you can use this in your persuasive essays or just in trying to get what you want and trying to win people over to your side. This is especially relevant during campaign season when everybody's trying to persuade people to come on over to their side politically, ideologically. So either use it for that or try to get some cookies tonight from somebody. All right, that's it. Thank you.
All right, now that we have gone over these persuasive techniques, when you go out there and convince somebody of something, just make it good. That's the big idea. Now that our expert educator has shown you the big idea, go out and convince somebody by saying, "Can you pretty please lower my bill?" Lower my bill. Lower my bill. Pretty please. Hope that worked. This is Bob Goodman, and that's the big idea. The big idea.